You ever meet someone who only loves you when you're struggling because it makes them feel superior? Yeah, that was Vanessa. And for 3 years, I thought she was the woman I'd marry. Until the night she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You'll never become anything, Ethan." Then she left me for a guy with money. Funny thing is, 5 years later, she came back, right after I became successful. But this time, I wasn't the same broke man she abandoned, and I made sure she understood exactly what she lost. 5 years ago, my life was embarrassing. I was 26, living in a tiny apartment above a laundromat in Chicago. The heater barely worked. The walls shook every time the train passed. I worked 12-hour shifts, fixing phones at a repair shop, while trying to build a software company at night. Most people called it a dream. Vanessa called it delusion. At first, she supported me. Or at least, I thought she did. She'd sit beside me while I coded late at night and say things like, "I believe in you." But over time, her tone changed. It started with little comments. "You're still working on that app? Do you know how many people fail at startups? My friends think you should get a real career." Then came the comparisons. Her coworker's boyfriend bought a Tesla. Another one proposed during a trip to Greece. Meanwhile, I was counting quarters to buy gas. One night we went to dinner for our anniversary. I had saved for weeks just to afford this small Italian restaurant. But halfway through the meal, Vanessa stared at another couple sitting across from us. The guy handed his girlfriend a designer bag. Vanessa looked back at me and sighed. "You know what your problem is, Ethan?" I laughed nervously. "What? You think ambition is enough?" That sentence hit harder than she realized. Still, I ignored it. Because when you love someone, you make excuses for the disrespect. You convince yourself they're just stressed. You tell yourself things will improve once life gets better. I had no idea she was already planning her exit. 3 months later, I came home early from work, and I heard laughter inside my apartment. Male laughter. At first, I thought maybe Vanessa invited friends over. Then I opened the door, and saw her sitting on my couch with another man. Arm was around her waist. They both froze. I still remember how silent the room became. The guy stood up immediately. Vanessa didn't. She just stared at me like she was annoyed I interrupted something. I looked at her. "What is this?" She crossed her arms. "Ethan, don't make this dramatic." Dramatic? There was another man in my apartment. Turns out his name was Derek. A real estate investor. 34 years old. Luxury apartment downtown. BMW. Rolex. Everything I wasn't. Vanessa finally stood up and said the words that destroyed me. "I'm tired of struggling with you." I felt physically sick. "So you cheated?" I upgraded. That sentence stayed in my head for years. I upgraded. Derek smirked the entire time. That's what hurt most. Not just betrayal, humiliation. Vanessa grabbed her suitcase from the bedroom. Apparently, she had already packed before I got home, meaning this wasn't spontaneous. She planned it. Before leaving, she looked around my apartment one last time. "You'll understand someday." Then she walked out. And just like that, 3 years together disappeared in under 10 minutes. The next 6 months were brutal. I stopped eating properly, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. I'd stare at my laptop for hours without typing a single line. The worst part wasn't losing Vanessa. It was realizing she never truly believed in me. She only stayed while she thought she was better than me. The moment someone richer appeared, I became disposable. One night, I sat alone in my apartment, rereading old messages between us. Promises, future plans, fake love. I nearly deleted my startup completely. Then something happened. I saw a message Vanessa sent months earlier. It read, "Maybe you're just not meant for success." And something inside me snapped. Not sadness, clarity. I realized I had spent years trying to prove my worth to someone who already decided I was a failure. That night changed everything. I stopped chasing validation and started chasing results. For the next 4 years, I became obsessed. Wake up, work, build. I learned marketing, raised investor money, failed twice, nearly went bankrupt once, but I kept going. Eventually, my software company exploded, a logistics platform for small businesses. Nothing glamorous, but insanely profitable. By 31, I sold part of the company for 8 figures. I bought a penthouse overlooking downtown Chicago. Black Porsche, tailored suits, private gym, everything Vanessa thought mattered. But the strange thing was, by then, none of it mattered to me anymore. Because success changes you. Not the money, the perspective. You stop begging people to see your value. You simply leave them behind. And honestly, I never thought about Vanessa again. Until one rainy Thursday night. I was attending a networking event at a rooftop hotel downtown. Live music, champagne, investors everywhere. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. Ethan? I turned around. And there she was. Vanessa. Older, still beautiful, but different. Less confident. Like life had humbled her. For a second she just stared at me. Probably trying to process the transformation. The fitted suit, the watch, the people shaking my hand every few minutes. She smiled nervously. Wow, you look incredible. I smiled politely. Thanks. There was an awkward silence. Then she laughed softly. I can't believe this is really you. Funny. 5 years earlier, she couldn't believe in me either. She asked if we could talk sometime. Against my better judgment, I said yes. Part of me wanted closure. Another part wanted to see why she suddenly cared. Deep down, I already knew. We met for dinner 3 nights later. The same Italian restaurant where she once embarrassed me. That detail wasn't accidental. I chose it on purpose. When she arrived, her eyes widened slightly. You remembered this place? Oh, I remember everything. For the first hour, she acted sweet. Too sweet. She asked about my business, my travels, my penthouse. Then eventually, the truth slipped out. Derek and I broke up 2 years ago. I nodded slowly. What happened? She looked embarrassed. He lost a lot of money. Of course he did. Funny how upgrades expire sometimes. Then she reached across the table and touched my hand. I made a mistake, Ethan. Not accountability. Not remorse. Convenience. She missed the lifestyle she thought she deserved. And now, I had become the man she wanted all along. Except she forgot one thing. The broke version of me loved her. The successful version didn't trust her. She looked at me softly. I never stopped thinking about you. I almost laughed. Because where was that energy when I was broke and exhausted and trying to build a future? Where was that loyalty when another guy flashed money in her face? Gone. That's where. After dinner, we walked outside into the city lights. Rain drizzled softly across the streets. Vanessa moved closer to me. You know, she whispered, I think we met at the wrong time. I looked at her for a long moment, then finally said, We met at the perfect time. She frowned slightly. What do you mean? I took a deep breath. You met me before success. That's when love is real. She went quiet. I continued. You didn't leave because I was a bad man. You left because I was a struggling man. Ethan, no, let me finish. For the first time in years, she looked nervous. You taught me something important, Vanessa. What? That some people love potential only after it becomes profitable. She looked hurt. Good. Not because I wanted revenge, but because truth finally reached her. Tears formed in her eyes. I said I was sorry. And I forgive you. Her face softened with hope. Then I finished the sentence. But I would never choose you again. That destroyed her. I could see it immediately, because she genuinely believed she still had access to me, to my success, to my life. And in that moment, she realized she didn't. A black car pulled up beside the curb. My driver stepped out. Vanessa looked at me desperately. "Please don't do this." I smiled sadly. "You already did it first." That silence hit harder than yelling ever could. She grabbed my arm lightly. "Can we at least try again?" I looked down at her hand, then gently removed it. "You fell in love with my success." I paused. "But someone else is going to fall in love with me." And with that, I got into the car. As we drove away, I looked back one final time. Vanessa stood alone under the rain, watching the man she once abandoned disappear from her life forever. And honestly, that was the moment. I finally won. Not because I became rich, not because she regretted leaving, but because for the first time in my life, I understood my worth without needing anyone else to confirm it. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's becoming so successful, so confident, and so healed that they no longer have access to you. Because people who abandon you during the struggle don't deserve you after the victory. And trust me, walking away feels a lot better than begging someone to stay.